All right, well, we have found ourselves at the end of chapter 4. We are going to finish up by learning how to write quadratic equations in vertex and also in intercept form if they have just given us a little bit of information. So, in the first part of the worksheet, they ask us to take the vertex and the point that the quadratic function is going to run through, one of the points anyway, and use those two pieces of information to write the quadratic in vertex form. So we're going to write the equation for a quadratic that if we graphed it, in number 1, the vertex would be 0, 0, and at one of the points on that graph would be the point 2, comma 4. So we are going to do this very much the same way that we did this in Algebra 1 when we worked with linear functions. We're going to take the vertex form here and we're going to plug in what we do have. We do have quite a bit of information from just being given those 2 points. So we know one point on the line. We know it has a y of 4 and it has an x of 2. And they've also told us the vertex is at 0, 0. So we know h and k as well. Okay. From there, oh, and this needs to be squared. Let me put the square in up there. From here, we can solve for a. That's the only variable that we don't know. And so we end up with 2 squared. I'm going to drop that plus 0 because it's not necessary. And we can see that our a value is 1. All right, so since our a value is 1, we don't need to record it. We assume it to be there. And so we're going to go back to that vertex form. We're going to leave y open. We're not going to put anything in for a because it is 1. In this case, we're going to leave our x open. We'll fill in h of 2. Oh, no, I'm not, sorry, not 2. That would be an h of 0. And a k of 0 as well. We can get rid of those zeros, and when we do that, we end up with y equals x squared. Okay. All right, now if we had calculated a value other than an a of 1, we would have needed to put that in there in front of that x. But because we just got an a of 1, there's nothing that we really need to do extra. All right, we'll do the same thing with number 2. We see that our y coordinate is 5. We don't know a, so we're going to need to calculate that. We have an x at 4, and we have our vertex is 2 and 1. So we'll just write those 2 points in like that. And then we're going to do the algebra to solve for a. All right, so once again, we are going to get a value of 1 for a. That is not always going to happen. That's happened in these 2 instances. So again, we're not going to write anything in for a because if it's not written in, we assume it to be 1. We are going to put on our x coordinate for the vertex, which is 2, and our y coordinate for the vertex, which is 1. And there is our quadratic in vertex form. Moving down to number 7, they give us an x-intercept of 2, 3, and they give us a point on the graph at 4, 2. All right, I'm sorry, they don't give, the intercepts are 2 and 3. The x-intercepts are 2 and 3. I read that wrong. So that lets us know our p value and our q value. So remember our x-intercepts, when we write out the formula for intercept form. Okay, so over here you can see that. That means that our intercepts, we give the variables p and q. This point right here is just going to be another point on the graph somewhere. It's not our x-intercepts necessarily. All right, so again, we're going to plug into intercept form the things that we know. We know 1 point on the line, 4, 2, so we're going to put the 2 in for the y and the 4 in for the x. We do not know a again in this set of information. They haven't given us that, so we're going to have to calculate that. We do have both intercepts, so we're going to plug in the one intercept here. We're going to use x twice, so we're going to use that x coordinate in both spots for x. And then our q would be 3, all right? If we complete the algebra, we end up with 2a, 2 equals 2a, and once again, we are getting an a value of 1. So we're going to take that, plug all this information back up into our intercept form, leaving the y and the x spots open just like we always have done. We're going to leave the a unwritten because it is 1, so we assume it to be 1, and we'll write in our p and our q values like that, and there's our intercept form for that set of information there. All right, number 8, we have a y point value of -4. We don't know a. That's what we're going to be calculating. We do see that we have an x of -3, so we're going to use it here, and we're going to use it here, both places that call for that x coordinate point. Our x-intercepts are -4 and 1. So one of those will be P and one will be Q. I'm just going to go in order, and I'm going to call the first one P. So that's minus that -4, and then -1 on the other side. Kind of clean it up here a little bit. This will end up being plus a +4, which gives us 1, and then a -4 right here. All right, so when we take care of all that, again, we end up with an A of 1. All right. It will not be recorded because it is only 1. Remember, we're going to leave our x and our y open so that we can use this for any problem that has an x and y coordinate point. And then I'm going to fill in my intercepts. This right here is x minus that -4, which is just x plus 4. So I'm going to go ahead and write it in like that just to simplify that as best we can. And there's that set of information written in intercept form.